Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Ram Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Pariva Jagatara Shratya Shishimada's Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Kantaraj Bhagavatam Ki Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Siksatikam prayers Ki Tagore Premanande. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. So I'm going to read this poem. First off, Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming to Bhagavatam class. So we're going to be having a special Lord Chaitanya Katha. Nice. Last night was really nice. Really beautiful discussions on Lord Chaitanya. So today I'm going to read this. This is by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. I've only heard it sang one way, and it's kind of a difficult melody. I don't know how to sing it exactly, but we're going to read it. It's just a beautiful prayers to Lord Chaitanya by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. You can hear Shivaram sing it online, or Shivaram Swami, and he sings it extraordinarily beautiful. So I'll read it in Sanskrit, and then I'll just read the translation of each verse, and then we'll go to hearing Lord Chaitanya, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Anchalila, in the last chapter. Ujvala Varana Gauravara Deham, Vilasita Niravadi Bhava Videham, Tribhuvana Pavana Kripaya Lesham, Tam Pranamami Cha Sri Sachitanayam. I prostrate myself before the son of Mother Sachi, whose radiant lotus face and body shine with the splendor of molten gold. This transcendental body is the playground for continuous expressions of variegated moods of ecstatic symptoms that carry his consciousness to the realm where he is no longer aware of that transcendental body. By only a particle of mercy, he has delivered the three worlds. Actually, there's a nicer translation. Let me load it up. Gadgadantara Bhava Vikaram Durjana Tarajana Nada Visaram Bhava Bhaya Bhajana Karana Karunam Tam Pranamami Cha Sri Sachitanayam. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sachi's glorious son. Overcome with ecstatic spiritual love, he speaks with broken words in a choked voice. His loud roars rebuke the demons, and his mercy breaks into pieces all fear of the world of birth and death. Arunambara Dara Charu Kapalam Indu Vinandita Naka Chaya Ruchiram Jalpita Nija Guna Nama Vinodam Tam Pranamami Cha Sri Sachitanayam. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sachi's glorious son. He wears saffron garments. His cheeks are graceful. His glistening fingernails and toenails defeat a host of moons. He enjoys pastimes of chanting his own glories and his own holy names. Vigalita Nayana Kamala Jaladaram Bhushana Navarasa Bhava Vikaram Gati Atimantara Nitya Vishalam Tam pranamami cha Sri Sachitanayam. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sachi's glorious son. A flood of tears streams from his lotus eyes. He is adorned with ornaments of the symptoms of new nectar of ecstatic spiritual love. Moving with slow grace, he enjoys pastimes of dancing. Chanchala charu charana gati ruchiram. I love that. Chanchala charu charana gati ruchiram. Manjira ranjita pada yuga manduram. Chandra vinidita shitala vandanam. Tam pranamami cha Sri Sachitanyam. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sachi's glorious son. His restless feet move with grace. His ankles sweetly jangle. His cooling face rebukes the moon. Drita kati dora kamandalu dandam. Divya kalvera mundita mundam. Durjana kalamasa kantanda dandyam. Tam pranamami cha Sri Sachitanyam. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sachi's glorious son. His kamandalu and danda rest on his belt. His form is effulgent. His head is shaved. Ushanabu Raja Alaka Valitam. Kampita Bimbardara Vararucharyam. Mayaja Virachita Ujvala Tilakam. Tam pranamami cha Sri Sachitanyam. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sachi's glorious son. His hair is decorated with dust. His splendid bimbafoot lips tremble. His sandalwood paste tilak glistens. Nindita Aruna Kamala Dalanayanam. Ajano Lambita Sri Bhuja Yugalam. Kalavera Kaishora Nartaka Vesham. Tam pranamami cha Sri Sachitanyam. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sachi's glorious son. His eyes rebuke the red lotus petals. His graceful arms reach to his knees. His youthful form wears the garments of a dancer. Jai. Beautiful. Lord Chaitanya ki. So we'll hear a little of the Antya Lila, and we'll just read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya Lila, chapter 20, which is the last chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And just because we're getting near Gaur Pranim, and this is time to really meditate on Lord Chaitanya. And there's so many things I'd like to say about Lord Chaitanya, which I mentioned some last night about his appearance and his activities, but I'll leave that for the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya. So I thought we can just speak about Lord Chaitanya's instructions in the Siksatikam and just do a little reading. This is verse 1. Only the most fortunate will relish the mad words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which were mixed with jubilation, envy, agitation, submissiveness, and grief, all produced by ecstatic loving emotions. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we'll discuss in between. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus resided at Jagannath Puri, he was continuously overwhelmed day and night by separation from Krishna. Day and night he tasted transcendentally blissful songs and verses with two associates, namely Sarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Roy. He relished the symptoms of various transcendental emotions such as jubilation, lamentation, anger, humility, anxiety, grief, eagerness, and satisfaction. He would recite his own verses expressing their meanings and emotions, and thus enjoy tasting them with these two friends. Sometimes the Lord would be absorbed in a particular emotion and would stay awake all night reciting related verses and relishing their taste. In great jubilation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Sarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, know from me that chanting the holy names is the most feasible means of salvation in the age of Kali." So Lord Chaitanya, it's interesting because from day one of his birth, even before he was born, people were chanting the holy names. And I've just been hearing Chaitanya Bhagavat all morning while performing my puja to Sri Giriraj Govardhan and Sri Gaurnitai. And one of the statements is that Lord Chaitanya, he came exclusively to deliver this chanting, because this chanting is the most powerful process for self-realization. And so he was born on an eclipse, and it's described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that Gaura Purnim is the most holy day in the entire cosmic creation of all time, from the beginning of Brahma's life. that Sri Gaura Purnima is the most holy occasion of all, the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is delivering everybody. He's Vishvambar. He's the deliverer of every single soul and the most merciful, inconceivably wonderful personality of Godhead. And we're just in time to capture that mercy. So we're very fortunate. And so during his birth, because there was an eclipse, and in India during an eclipse, you go bathe in the Ganges. And so all the people bathe in the Ganges and they're chanting the holy name. Hari, Hari, Hari. And actually I had this good fortune of, during an eclipse, when I was in India, I was bathing in the Ganges. Actually, it was on Rasa Purnim, the night of the Rasa dance. There was an eclipse, a very, very full eclipse that evening, lunar eclipse. And I was there in the Ganga, and it was just me and a bunch of local Bengalis. And it was interesting because they were all it's kind of, austere. It's October, it's a little chilly, and you're jumping into the Ganga at night during an eclipse, and I chanted my Gayatri in the Ganga, and it was pretty ecstatic. So during that time, it was described that even people who never once uttered the name of Hari or uttered the name of Krishna were saying Krishna. Because at that time, it's described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that Kali Yuga was really taking its effect in terms of the Brahminical culture, that no one was understanding the need for devotional service to the Lord. No one was understanding how important it is to be a devotee. So continuing on, Lord Chaitanya is quoting some verses now. In the age of Kali, the process of worshiping Krishna is to perform sacrifice by chanting the holy names of the Lord. One who does so is certainly very intelligent, and he attains the shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. In the age, and this is a quote from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.5.32. So this is 5,000 years ago. This was being spoken by Vyasadeva in the Bhagavatam. So even 5,000 years ago, what we're doing right now is predicted. It's not a sentimental movement. It's not made up. It's very real. This is the real religion. And it's described in the Bhagavatam. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Jai. Simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna, is Lord Chaitanya speaking, one can be freed from all undesirable habits. This is the means of awakening all good fortune and initiating the flow of waves of love of God. This is the first verse of Siksatikam, and it's translated a little differently in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Prabhupada than what we're used to in terms of hearing the translations of Siksatikam. So it's translated a little different, and then Lord Chaitanya gives his own purport on the Siksatikam, which is very blissful. Let there be all victory for the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna, which can cleanse the mirror of the heart and stop the miseries of the blazing fire of material existence. That chanting is the waxing mood that spreads the white lotus of good fortune for all living entities. It is the life and soul of all education. The chanting of the holy name of Krishna expands the blissful ocean of transcendental life. It gives a cooling effect to everyone, enables one to taste full nectar at every step. So, very beautiful. And so Lord Chaitanya is elaborating more. By performing congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, one can destroy the sinful condition of material existence, purify the unclean heart, and awaken all varieties of devotional service. The result of chanting is that one awakens his love for Krishna and tastes transcendental bliss. Ultimately, one attains the association of Krishna and engages in his devotional service, as if immersing himself in a great ocean of love. Lamentation and humility awoke within Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he began reciting another of his own verses. By hearing the meaning of that verse, one can forget all unhappiness and lamentation. This is the second verse of Siksatikam. My Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, in your holy name there is all good fortune for the living entity, and therefore you have many, many names, such as Krishna and Govinda, by which you expand yourself. You have invested all your potencies in those names, and there are no hard and fast rules for remembering them. My dear Lord, although you bestow such mercy upon the fallen conditioned souls by liberally teaching your holy names, I am so unfortunate that I commit offenses while chanting the holy name, and therefore I do not achieve attachment for chanting. It's a little different from what we're used to in terms of hearing Prabhupada's first translation he did in the 60s. So this is what he written. Prabhupada translated to as the Bhagavad Gita. I mean, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Lord Chaitanya is elaborating. Because people vary in their desires, you have distributed various holy names by your mercy. That's a very nice point, that because people vary in their desires, people have different desires. Krishna has different holy names you can call him. But the highest holy name is Krishna. But Krishna has unlimited names. Regardless of time or place, one who chants the holy name, even while eating or sleeping, attains all perfection. You have invested your full potencies in each individual holy name, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attachment for chanting your holy names. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, O Sarup Damodar, Goswami and Ramananda Roy, hear from me the symptoms of how one should chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to awaken very easily one's dormant love for Krishna. Who knows the next verse? Trinadapi sunijena taroiva sahishnuna amananina manadena kirtaneya sadahari. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor, but is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily chant the holy names of the Lord constantly. So that verse was considered by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He said we should hang that verse around our neck. Actually, he said that's our Siddha Pranali mantra. So Siddha Pranali mantra is something that the Sahajas do. Not just the Sahajas, but a lot of Sahajas talk about it. As you know, you get a mantra to meditate on your eternal form in Vrindavan, and they think they're very elevated, but actually they're not. And so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta never really invested in any of that. And he spoke strongly against that type of thing. You know, the Radhakund Babajis and so forth. But he said that our real Siddha Pranali mantra, if we really want to understand who we are in Vrindavan, then chant the holy name in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street, becoming more tolerant than a tree, offering all respects to others and not expecting any respect for oneself. In that way, we can actually chant the holy name. That is considered the most, important verse for us in so many ways. Here, Radhanath Swami, every single class he gives, he quotes that verse. Gangamantri tells the nice story how, he was really, wanted to take a lot of shelter from Radhanath Swami, like considering him a Shiksha Guru, and he got a few minutes with him, and, he told him, I consider you a Shiksha Guru, and, please give me an instruction. And, Radhanath Swami just said, one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street and becoming more tolerant than a tree, offering all respects unto others, not expecting any respect for oneself. In that state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Gangamantri had been a devotee for so many years at that point. Everybody knows that verse. In the first week you're at the temple, you know that verse, but still the importance of it, so intense, so immensely important. So continuing. These are the symptoms of one who chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Although he is very exalted, he thinks himself lower than the grass on the ground. And like a tree, he tolerates everything in two ways. Actually, little did Lord Chaitanya know, he was describing Bhakti Ethan. When a tree is cut down, it does not protest. And even when it is drying up, it does not ask anyone for water. I always think that's a very nice explanation of that verse when we hear what it means to be tolerant. When a tree is cut down, it does not protest. and even when drying up, it does not ask anyone for water. So that's, Prabhupada said he can give, lectures and lectures and lectures on just the tree. That so many things are happening to us. People, we become angry. We think, we complain like anything. This is not Lord Chaitanya. This is not Krishna conscious, actually. We should, we're getting cut down. It doesn't protest. I always think this verse, actually, when I think of this verse, I always think of His Grace Chitsukananda Prabhu. He really lives that verse, so humble. When you're around these Vaishnavas that are so humble, it's almost scary how humble they can be. Okay. His Holiness Jayadvaita Maharaj, one of the most exalted devotees in our entire movement. He spent so much time with Prabhupada, so Krishna conscious. But his humility is just like, it almost gives you pain when you're around him, how humble he is. And when he's on the Vyasasana, he's like a tiger. When he sits on the Vyasasana, he speaks the philosophy like a tiger. He'll cut down any nonsense, just concisely, with Bhagavad Gita quotes, just like a lightning bolt, Jayadvaita Maharaj. But when you're with him, personally, he's like the perfect gentleman who's just so humble, so just gracious and humble. It's really amazing. And you almost feel like, you're with this great exalted devotee, but he really makes you feel like you're more, like he thinks you're more elevated. So it's really, really powerful to be around such devotees and their humility. We had one teacher in Mayapur, His Grace Srivas Prabhu, who's a very advanced disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And Srivas Prabhu was just like, he was just so humble. And I witnessed like people make fun of him because he was like so humble. People were like kind of like acting, foolish. And like this one devotee, I'm not going to name any names. This one devotee was really like being kind of foolish in his class. And the devotee was a Prabhupada disciple. But anyways, he was kind of being a little like if you were given a class, it wouldn't be something you'd want. And, after the whole thing was over, and this devotee is a good devotee. He just is kind of like that type of nature, but he's a good devotee. But Srivas Prabhu went over, paid his obeisances, and begged him mercy. He really saw, like, even though this devotee was learning from him, he was the teacher. Srivas Prabhu went and asked, the student for mercy. So very humble. So when a tree is cut down, it does not protest. So how many times, we're cut down, or someone cuts down our false ego, we protest. We don't protest to them. We go to our friends and we say, they did that to me. And, we want our friends to go, yeah, that's wrong. And they justify it. Right? That's how the materially conditioned mind works. I'm going to go talk to the temple president. And even when drying up, does not ask anyone for water. That one always strikes me because, we're drying up. You have a question, Todd?
No, not bad, bro.
Yeah. We're drying up. We feel like I'm so, I'm feeling burned out. I'm having so many difficulties in my spiritual life. And, I'm not, supplied enough of anything. And in that way, still the humble Vaishnava, he doesn't complain. He's like a tree. He doesn't ask for help. He just simply chants the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So I'll read it one more time. When a tree is cut down, it does not protest. And even when drying up, it does not ask anyone for water. The tree delivers its fruits, flowers, and whatever else it possesses to anyone and everyone. It tolerates scorching heat and torrents of rain, yet still gives shelter to others. So I've personally seen devotees like this, that even though their own lives are really, really challenging, their own health, like, my dearly beloved spiritual master, health problems. So many people calling him, I need help with this, I need help with that. So many people criticizing. Never a time when I've seen him deny someone who's asking him for help. Never once. Even when we were in Vrindavan, there was a guy who heard his class on the Vrindavan TV. The man was so inspired, he got in a plane in England, flew to Vrindavan that day, flew to Delhi, took a cab to Vrindavan, came to the MVT, and asked if he can speak to Jivananda Prabhu. And like my Guru Maharaj is like, it's my last day in Vrindavan. I'm leaving. I have no time to do anything. He's a slow packer. And he was really frustrated. He was like, I don't have time, but still, he was super just like, I don't want to do this. I got things I got to do. Still, told him, man, I'll give him 5 minutes. Gave him 2 hours. Never seen so much compassion. Actually, what happened was the man's wife had left him, cheated on him, his kids, all these horrible, his life had like fallen apart. He was like on the verge of suicide. But he was so, after that conversation, man, we had no time at all. Like it was nighttime and we were leaving in the morning and we hadn't finished packing. And I was thinking this guy might be crazy. So I like went with my Gurudev in case he was crazy, and I needed to like defend him or something. And still gave him that counseling and was so compassionate to him. And afterward, he had a slight smile on his face and he's still chanting Hare Krishna actually. And my Gurudev, last time I asked him about it, he said he's probably going to take initiation. So he's an English man, English Indian devotee. But the tree delivers its fruits and flowers, and whatever else it possesses to anyone and everyone. It tolerates scorching heat and torrents of rain, yet it still gives shelter to others. So this is Vaishnav, that we will strive to give shelter to others. We'll take the extra mile to help someone else in their Krishna consciousness. And if we really think like that, we get the mercy. That's all there is to it. Rather than being so concerned with our own problems. My spiritual master describes it that, if you really chant Hare Krishna and you do this, nicely and you follow properly, you become okay. You're all right. You feel okay in yourself. And then you can really, help others. Do whatever you can to give shelter and inspiration to others in their Krishna consciousness. And a lot of that is unseen, how the devotees put other people before them, how much sacrifice is made. And, what's the greatest example was Prabhupada, when Prabhupada had crossed the ocean at 70 years old. And, practically, can you imagine, we see 70-year-olds, they have a lot of health issues. And you imagine Srila Prabhupada crossed the ocean with so many health issues and gave all of his time to helping others. Prabhupada never complained. He was never unenthused. He was always enthused. So he was this ocean of mercy. Sri Guru Karuna Sindhu. He was an ocean of mercy. And Prabhupada was so tolerant, how much he tolerated hippies and, the craziness that you read the Lila Amrita or some of those things, the craziest that things would do. Prabhupada tolerated. And Prabhupada just accepted it as Krishna's mercy. So this is the wonderful nature of a Vaishnava. In fact, that we're following, have a good day, that we're following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Although a Vaishnava is the most exalted person, he is prideless and gives all respect to everyone, knowing everyone to be the resting place of Krishna. Although a Vaishnava is the most exalted person, he is prideless and gives all respect to everyone. This is Lord Chaitanya elaborating or giving a purport on his own verse. This is really wonderful. If you want to know the real meaning of Siksatikam, this is what Lord Chaitanya is saying personally about it. He is prideless and gives all respect to everyone, knowing everyone to be the resting place of Krishna. So how do we disrespect anybody if we know they're the resting place of Krishna? Right? It's just, it, really shows us where we're at, when you read these verses. All respect to others. That means, the tendency of a materialist is we immediately judge someone upon seeing them. We all know we do it. Immediately. And so the real practice is, it might happen because we're so conditioned to immediately doing that. But then we think, no, this is part and parcel of Krishna. And I experienced that when I was in Hawaii. There was one person who was kind of annoying. And I was thinking, I don't want to talk to this guy. He keeps talking to me. But I thought, this is actually part and parcel of Krishna. And further than that is actually Krishna's devotee. Actually, he's a devotee. More than just being part and parcel of Krishna. He's a devotee. But and so I just sat and, listened to him. Like Radhanath Swami, you'll notice, and these really exalted souls, they're personal. My spiritual master is also in that way. And that, like when we were in San Diego with Radhanath Maharaj, Radhanath Maharaj gave the nice talk, and then there was time for questions. And Bhajanarayan Swami, jumped in. He said, "No questions for Maharaj. Maharaj needs to get to bed." And then Radhanath Swami just waved his hand, said, "Sit down, Maharaj," and proceeded to speak to people all the way till midnight, giving as much time as necessary to each person to make them feel, like they had the association of a saintly person, and he was trying to give them some inspiration in Krishna consciousness. So, how do we say? I heard this. My spiritual master told me a story once about His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj and how he was talking to someone, had come and started asking questions, and he had a flight in Texas, and they were in Dallas. And he was there in Dallas, and they were like, "Maharaj, you have a flight." And Maharaj just said, "There'll be other flights. I'm talking to this person right now." And he missed his flight just to give that person some mercy. So, you see, actually this mood of taking time to be with people and really, hearing them and treating them as Krishna's in their heart, this is not our philosophy. This is our philosophy. This is what the exalted Vaishnavas do. So what to speak of criticizing someone or, gossiping about someone. And this is so far off you're so far off Krishna consciousness, and it's something we're all dealing with. But that's why we really have to depend on Lord Chaitanya's mercy. If one chants the holy name of Lord Krishna in this manner, he will certainly awaken his dormant love for Krishna's lotus feet. As Lord Chaitanya spoke in this way, his humility increased, and he began praying to Krishna that he can discharge pure devotional service. Wherever there is a relationship of love of God, its natural symptom is that the devotee does not think himself a devotee. Instead, he always thinks that he has not even a drop of love for Krishna. It's a nice purport here, but we'll continue on. I'm just reading. O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth. Oh, this is the next verse in the Siksatikam. Materialistic followers, a beautiful wife, a fruitive activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. This is our Vaishnava conclusion, that we don't want liberation, we don't want any of these things, spiritual enlightenment, salvation. Christians are always talking about salvation. Are you saved? No, we just want love for Krishna. We just want to serve Krishna birth after birth. That's so satisfying. Yato bhakti radhoksajaya haitu kya pratiyata yatma suprasidati. Yayatma supersediti, it gives complete satisfaction. In great humility, considering himself the conditioned soul of the material world, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again expressed his desire to be endowed with service to the Lord. Next verse of the Siksatikam. O my Lord, O Krishna, son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servant, but because of my own fruitive acts, I have fallen into the horrible ocean of nescience. Now, please be causelessly merciful to me. Consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. So it's this beautiful prayer that we should, we're asking, my dear Lord. Actually, in the Sri Harinam Chintamani by Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives that as a method to transcend impure chanting, this prayer by Lord Chaitanya. That's how we should think when we chant. I am your servant, but because I've fallen into this ocean of nescience, now please lift me up. Lord Chaitanya is continuing. I am your eternal servant, but I have forgotten your lordship. Now I have fallen into the ocean of nescience and have been conditioned by the external energy. Be causelessly merciful to me by giving me a place with the particles of dust at your lotus feet, so that I may engage in the service of your lordship as your eternal servant. Natural humility and eagerness then awoke in Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He prayed to Krishna to be able to chant the Mahamantra in ecstatic love. This is the next verse of Siksatikam, beautiful verse. My dear Lord, when will my eyes be beautified by filling with tears that constantly glide down as I chant your holy names? When will my voice falter and all the hairs on my body stand erect in transcendental happiness as I chant your holy names? This is the mood of a devotee, that we're eager to have these tears of love while we chant Hare Krishna. It's very different from, I gotta finish my rounds, Prabhu. We should chant with that idea that actually I'm chanting with the eagerness to have this tears of love come down my eyes, my face. Lord Chaitanya is saying, without love of Godhead, my life is useless. Therefore, I pray that you accept me as your servant and give me the salary of ecstatic love of God. So beautiful. Without love of Godhead, my life is useless. This is the Supreme Lord himself in the mood of Srimati Radharani speaking. And so this is an authoritative statement. So we can understand that without developing love of God, without attempting to develop love of God, our life is useless. It was a wasted life. So the fact that we're here is, indicative of the fact that we're not wasting our lives. We're trying to develop love for God. Therefore, I pray that you accept me as your servant and give me the salary of ecstatic love of Godhead. So I tell that to people a lot, that I work very hard and get paid in bliss. You get paid in bliss. Krishna pays me very well. Separation from Krishna awoke various mellows of distress, lamentation, and humility. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke like a crazy man. And so you have to see the scene that Lord Chaitanya is reciting these Siksatikam verses in the association of his two dear associates, Sri Sarup Damodar Goswami and Sri Ramananda Roy. And he's in the room, in the house of Kashi Mishra, is that it? My Lord Govinda, because of separation from you, I consider even a moment a great millennium. Tears flow from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I see the entire world as void. So Prabhupada originally translated that as 12 years or more. But the word is Yuga Yitam, means millennium. When we were in Los Angeles, His Grace Rameshwar Prabhu was speaking about that Prabhupada was like simplifying it for their brains at the time. Couldn't even conceive that. But then after reading the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, he translated as a millennium. That a moment is like a yuga in separation from Krishna. Still pretty hard to conceive of. In my agitation, a day never ends, for every moment seems like a millennium. Pouring incessant tears, my eyes are like clouds in the rainy season. The three worlds have become void because of separation from Govinda. I feel as if I were burning alive in a slow fire. Lord Krishna has become indifferent to me, just to test my love. And my friends say, better to disregard him. So now we're seeing Lord Chaitanya enter the mood of Srimati Radharani. While Srimati Radharani was thinking in this way, the characteristics of natural love became manifest because of her pure heart. The ecstatic symptoms of envy, great eagerness, humility, zeal, and supplication all became manifest at once. In that mood, the mind of Srimati Radharani was agitated, and therefore she spoke a verse of advanced devotion to her gopi friends. In the same spirit of ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited that verse, and as soon as he did so, he felt like Srimati Radharani. Let Krishna tightly embrace this maidservant who has fallen at his lotus feet, or let him trample me or break my heart by never being visible to me. So this is the last verse of Siksatikam. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that, each verse of Siksatikam can be compared to a level of bhakti. And this verse is the verse that is equated with prema bhakti, or the highest level of devotional service, the highest stated possible being one can have is this consciousness. Very, very high. But here we hear Lord Chaitanya saying, let Krishna tightly embrace this maidservant who has fallen at his lotus feet, or let him trample me or break my heart by never being visible to me. He is a Dabachi after all and can do whatever he likes, but still he alone and no one else is the worshipable Lord of my heart. That's also a different translation than Prabhupada translates it. Normally Prabhupada leaves out that Dabachi part. Radharani can call him that. We cannot do so. But yeah, that's actually the word. Lampataha, Edabachi. So yeah, I'll read it again. Let Krishna tightly embrace this maidservant who has fallen at his lotus feet, or let him trample me or break my heart by never being visible to me. He is a Dabachi after all, and can do whatever he likes, but still he alone and no one else is my worshipable Lord. So there it is, that whatever happens to us, that's the devotee's consciousness. Whatever it may be, Krishna remains my Lord unconditionally. So that is Bhajate Mama Nanyabhak. That no matter what happens, Apichat Siddharachara Bhajate Mama Nanyabhak. That so many things may happen, even if one commits the most abominable activity, if they have this Bhajate Mama Nanyabhak, they're never going to lose their devotion to Krishna. Krishna always remains the central object of their love, the goal of their life, right? Mam ekam sharanam rajaha. Krishna is mam ekam. He is number one in my life. No one but Krishna is my Lord. I don't take shelter of demigods. I don't take shelter of politics. I don't take shelter of astrology. And I take shelter of Krishna. And because of that, no matter what happens, Krishna may break me or Krishna may embrace me, but still he's my Lord no matter what. And that's pure love. Very, very wonderful. Lord Chaitanya is continuing in this ecstatic trance. My dear friend, he's in the mood of Radharani. My dear friend, just hear the decisions of my mind. Krishna is the Lord of my life in all conditions, whether he shows me affection or kills me by giving me unhappiness. Sometimes Krishna gives up the company of other gopis and becomes controlled, mind and body, by me. Thus he manifests my good fortune and gives others distress by performing his loving affairs with me. This is the inner mind of Srimati Radharani. Or since after all, he is a very cunning, obstinate Dabachi with a propensity to cheat, he takes to the company of other women. He then indulges in loving affairs with them in front of me to give me distress to my mind. Nevertheless, he is still the Lord of my life. And we're on a high level here. Anybody disturbed? Granted, this is all pure lila in the spiritual world. It's not like what we think of as material debauchery. This is a pure rasa, pure love. Otherwise, why would Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's a sannyasi, who renounced sex life forever, who wouldn't even have a woman within feet of him? Women had to stay, feet away. They'd pay obeisances from a distance. Lord Chaitanya wouldn't even want to hear the name of a woman. He was such a strict sannyasi. Yet he's talking about this because this is elevated, pure devotional service. I do not mind my personal distress. Oh, this is really nectar right here. This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking. I do not mind my personal distress. I only wish for the happiness of Krishna, for his happiness is the goal of my life. However, if he feels great happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my happiness. Wow, isn't that nectar? I do not mind my personal distress. I only wish for the happiness of Krishna, for his happiness is the goal of my life. However, if he feels great happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my happiness. If Krishna, attracted by the beauty of some other woman, wants to enjoy with her but is unhappy because he cannot get her, I fall down at her feet, catch her hand, and bring her to Krishna to engage her for his happiness. So as I said, this is pure transcendental Leela. It's not like sexual at all. But the idea is that we hear that Radharani is always bringing the other devotees to Krishna. She's always saying, look, Krishna, here's Lalita Priya. She's such a nice devotee. And here Krishna, here's Bhakti Ethan. He's such a nice devotee. So Radharani is actually she's cheering us on. And actually in the spiritual world, the devotees, our real pleasure is not, to just engage with Krishna. Actually, we want to see Radharani engage with Krishna. That's what Goloka Vrindavan is everybody's working to facilitate the loving pastimes of Radha Krishna. Nikunjayu no ratikali sidhai yayale biryu tirapekshaniya tatatri dakshad ativala basya vande guru shri charanara vindam. The spiritual master, he's arranging beautiful arrangements so that Radha and Krishna can meet. He's expert at tatatri daksha. He's daksha. He's expert at arranging these meetings of Radha and Krishna. So this is the very high level end of our philosophy. This is the last chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It doesn't get higher than this. When a beloved gopi shows symptoms of anger toward Krishna, Krishna is very satisfied. Indeed, he is extremely pleased when chastised by such a gopi. She shows her pride suitably, and Krishna enjoys that attitude. Then she gives up her pride with a little endeavor. Why does a woman continue to live who knows that Krishna's heart is unhappy, but who still shows her deep anger toward him? She is interested in her own happiness. I condemn such a woman to be struck on the head with a thunderbolt, for we simply want the happiness of Krishna. If a gopi envious of me satisfies Krishna, and Krishna desires her, I shall not hesitate to go to her house and become her maidservant, for then my happiness will be awakened. The wife of a Brahmana suffering from leprosy manifested herself as the topmost of all chaste women by serving a prostitute to satisfy her husband. She thus stopped the movement of the sun, brought her dead husband back to life, and satisfied the three principal demigods. This is actually something from a Purana, and there's a whole Purana, but actually we'll stop here. That goes into a whole different type of thing. So, beautiful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, hearing his Siksatikam prayers, his mood, and actually the mood of Gaudiya Vaishnavism is perfectly described in this chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita. What is our real understanding? What do we have to complain about? If Krishna is happy, then I am happy. If Krishna is unhappy, then I am unhappy. Bas. That's it. That's pure love. That's our goal in devotional service. So if there's any questions or comments, Mary.
I find myself able to handle a lot of pain or discomfort with grace. But one of the things I find, when you said, you can be thirsty and not ask for a drink. I might tell somebody I'm thirsty, but I can sometimes suck that up. Not no pun intended. I can kind of just let that be and just sit in that. But my problem with some kinds of discomfort is I make the discomfort worse by wondering, what have I done wrong? Oh my gosh, I've done something horrible. Maybe what's my responsibility in my becoming this, in this position of being broke or being, have I mismanaged my money? Have I done? And then my head gets in this turmoil about my faults, and I'm focusing on myself like, oh, I've got all these faults and I've done all these things wrong, and
That's a
now
fantastic
I'm being
question.
punished. So where is that point where we can be content with pain, but still take responsibility for our part that caused
Well, it's
it?
all our part. That's how we have to see it. It's all our responsibility. That's the Vaishnava philosophy. That first off, Krishna says that, whether we're poor or rich, that's our karma. We're not going to avoid that. However it happened, it can be different in different ways, however it may have happened. But we're poor or we're rich, that's our karma. And that karma we're getting because of our past activities, either sinful or pious. And so what's the famous verse? Ananta Prabhu probably knows it. 10:14:8. Yeah.
But we don't really have to worry about it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That, the devotee should, not worry about it, should simply tolerate it, and should always continue offer obeisances to the Lord within his heart. And to such a person who does that, liberation becomes his rightful claim. And so he continuously tolerates, it's described, he's continuously tolerating the reactions of his past misdeeds. So past misdeeds, we may be sick, we may be poor, we may be, depressed, all these different things will be happening to us. And so we're continuously tolerating those reactions while always offering our obeisances to the Lord within our heart. And to such a person, we become liberated. Liberation becomes his rightful claim. So, it may have happened in so many ways, but actually, ultimately, Krishna says, Prakriti kriyamanani guna karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartahamiti manyate. That we think we're doing so many things, we think it's us, but actually it's Krishna. It's the modes of material nature, it's the karma that this jiva soul has entangled itself in. So let Krishna continue to do as he will. Our real business is just to continue to try to love him. That is our business.
Not to try to figure it out.
Yeah, not to try to figure it out. I mean, not to take that the wrong way. We should, make intelligent decisions and so forth. But when something is out of our control, it's a waste of our energy to focus on it when we could just be focusing on Krishna. Yeah. Any other questions? Omar?
How do we know how Krishna feels about what we do?
That's a great question. Well, there's different answers at different stages. For the beginning stage, we have to take shelter of the Vaishnavas and the Guru and the Shastra. Understand how what is pleasing to Krishna and what is not pleasing to Krishna. Because we have no access to that super soul in our heart. We're too covered over to hear. And so we learn how to serve Krishna by pleasing those representatives of Krishna. If the Guru is pleased, you can understand Krishna is pleased. And if you please the Guru and the Vaishnavas, you will feel pleased. And you'll understand that Krishna is reciprocating with you. That's the miracle of it. You'll understand. Prabhupada gives the example actually in regards to that question, that just like eating, how do you know you're full? You know you're full when you're full. So in the same way, if Krishna is satisfied, he'll also reciprocate with you. Yeyatam mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As they surrender unto me, I reciprocate with them accordingly. I reward them accordingly. So your own existence becomes, shubhata, becomes blessed at every step by that service to Krishna. And, you'll know Krishna is pleased because Krishna is manifesting himself more and more in your life. You're having more realizations, you're having more experience, more bliss, and things like that. But that's later on. First and foremost, when the devotees are pleased, and when we're following the orders of the Guru, of the Acharyas, Krishna is pleased. And through that, Krishna says, Tesham satatam yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te. That because of the Guru and the Vaishnavas, we get this constant service to Krishna. Tesham satatam yuktanam. We engage in this satatam yuktanam, bhajatam priti purvakam, this constant worship of Krishna. And by that, dadami buddhi yogam tam, he gives us intelligence within our heart, how to come to him. So that becomes awakened in our heart. We have that connection with the super soul more and more. But that's a later stage. So at the beginning stage, just try to please the Vaishnavas and try to follow what Krishna is saying. And you'll understand Krishna is pleased by that. And you'll also get the result. But if we're just speculating to think, oh, like I'm going to please Krishna that way, I'm going to please Krishna this way, then that's not bona fide. We can't understand. Krishna is not really even pleased by anything we do unless we go do it through the Vaishnavas, through the Guru and through the sadhus. Otherwise, it's kind of like, and there's Lord Chaitanya demonstrates that in different times and places. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you see like, Balaba Bhattacharya, who Dhira was speaking about yesterday. He was doing all these things. He was a great scholar, and he was writing these commentaries on Bhagavatam. And, Lord Chaitanya just totally ignored him. Actually, Lord Chaitanya called him a prostitute for trying to write over the previous acharyas. And, until he approached with humility the assembly of devotees, he didn't get any of Lord Chaitanya's mercy. So that's the real way at the beginning. We please the devotees by following their instructions. And the devotees are very pleased to see us advance in Krishna consciousness. And then Krishna is pleased. And then we begin to have some understanding that Krishna is pleased with us. Based on how, like when I see the deities every morning, I just feel so, jubilant. And, it's like, oh, you feel like Lord Chaitanya is, blessing me. But on the other side of things, like if you offend the pujaris and you offend the deities, the people who are very dear to the deities, you should understand that, those deities aren't so pleased with you. So, but at the beginning stage, just try to please the devotees. That's it. Yeah, and you'll understand Krishna's pleased. Nice question. Ananda Prabhu, you had something?
Oh, I was just going to talking about devotees who put themselves out to help other people. And there's a few years ago a gentleman that came. I may have told you this. He was asking about Dasa Prabhu. Apparently, he had years before he was in some kind of distress, called the St. Louis Temple, or Dasa Prabhu, I think it was, maybe a temple. He talked to him on the phone and wanted some help from the devotees. And Dasa Prabhu, what I heard, got in his car and drove 4 or 5 hours to this person's house and found him and talked to him. And, years later, this guy's still talking about it.
Yeah.
But another thing, unless somebody has something. You mentioned Bhaktivinoda Thakur's statement about how to concentrate when you're chanting.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me a list of 6 things that Bhaktivinoda Thakur said for concentrating on your japa. Have you heard those, or do you know?
No, I haven't. Maybe it's in the Harinam Chintamani, but I can't pull it out.
Yeah, real quick, I think I can. The first one is to think of Krishna with affectionate respect. That's something to think about. Affectionate respect. The second is to concentrate on the sound alone. Third is to keep the mind pure. Fourth is to avoid useless talks. 5 is to think of the meaning of the mantra. That's the one I've used. It helps me a lot. Srila Prabhupada gave us a meaning for the mantra. And then the last one is to be patient.
Wow. You should send those to me. That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's great. Fantastic advice. Thank you. All right, we're out of time. Granthara, or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki, Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj ki.